Everybody loves a good ghost story, even the ones that are a bit silly, and right now I've gathered up 5 of the most scary paranormal experiences that will haunt your dreams. Enjoy, everybody. My friend's dad is an ex-Marine. He's been a paramedic, a firefighter, and a security guard, so there's particularly nothing on this earth that can frighten this motherfucker. His family used to live in a very old house built in the 1800s. One day my friend's dad was home alone, waiting for the rest of the family to get back with dinner. Now, this man is the most honest man I have ever met. There would be no reason for him to lie about this. He was sitting on the couch downstairs when he says he heard footsteps coming from up the stairs. He walks down the main hallway and looks up to their balcony, for their upstairs hallway, that is. He then said that there was a shadow figure that glided across the upstairs railing from one side to another until it was out of view. Right after that, he saw the supposed apparition. He heard the loudest, most blood-curdling scream he ever heard in his life. Immediately after this scream, all the lights in the house went out, and he found himself standing there in the pitch blackness. He then ran out to the front porch and waited for the rest of the family to return. My buddy said that when they got back, he remembers the horrified look on his dad's face. He said he had never seen that look on his face ever since that night. 2 weeks later, they were moved out of the house and moved closer to where I live, which is how we became friends. While this story still gives me the creeps, I can't be too upset though because I got my best friend out of the ordeal. I lived in a haunted apartment for a year. The apartment was 12 foot by 8 feet nothing. I started having these reoccurring dreams of a young woman asking me to follow her, and I thought nothing of it, but never followed her in my dreams. One night I followed her in the dream, and she crosses a stream and I stop. Nothing weird about that except for the guy across the stream loading a clip into his gun, cocking the gun, then discharging the clip over and over. I wake up from my dream to see a shadowy figure dripping wet in the doorway to my bathroom. I freak out and look away to see the same man at the foot of my bed with a gun. I throw the sheets over me and look back to my bathroom. She's gone. I look back to the foot of my bed. He's gone. Time goes on and the dreams are now every time I go to sleep, but only at my apartment. One night I wake up to my TV turning on and flashing through the channels with the volume continually getting louder. I try my remote. That doesn't work. I try the buttons on the TV. That doesn't work either. So I unplug the TV and go back to bed. I wake up in the morning to plug my TV in, and sure enough, it's in the 200s, somewhere with the frickin' volume cranked all the way up. The weird thing is, the TV shouldn't even reach those numbers, and when I changed channels to get the TV back, I couldn't get back to those channels at all. As time goes on, I start having lights going on and off in my apartment. My radio would turn on by itself, and the TV would start to change channels by itself as well. Bulbs in the apartment would explode or turn on their own at night, and towards the end of the day, even started seeing the dripping girl on a weekly basis around the apartment. The biggest event, however, came from when I finally followed the girl through the whole dream. I woke up because of the light flickering around in my apartment to see a hooded man at the foot of my bed. Thinking someone has broken into my apartment, I lunge at them from my bed. We start exchanging blows, trashing my apartment. We square off, and he manages to reach out his hand and just touch me in the chest with 2 fingers. My whole body shuts down, and I fall on my back. He then proceeds to crawl up on top of my body and stand on my chest. I ask him, "What the fuck do you want? Leave me alone!" The figure disappears, and I lay on the floor till morning. Till then, I head off to class. I come home and my place is trashed. I know what you're all thinking, and no, I don't do drugs, and I wasn't taking drugs when this happened. Other people have experienced the lights, but only one other person have ever saw the girl. Well, I used to live in a house in southern West Virginia. It was a beautiful house, a small garden in the front, and it was directly beside a 2-lane road. And at night, especially in the spring when it rains, it gets extremely foggy. Well, this night it just rained, and I was laying in bed at around 10 o'clock. I glanced out the window and I saw some weird movement in the bushes in front of my lawn. I was doing my English homework, so I just thought it was a stray dog or a bear or something. As the night drew to a close, so did my eyelids. I put my homework down, promising myself I'd do the rest in the morning. I looked out the window into the fog that was very thick, and I saw little handprints on the window, and a writing like someone had written it with their finger. I was on the second floor, and I guess you can guess what happened next. I told my parents, blah blah blah, they don't believe me, blah blah blah. They sent me to bed. When I returned, I didn't see the writing or the handprints on the window anymore, so I just tried to get some sleep because I had school in the morning. In the middle of the night, I woke up at exactly 3 o'clock and heard a strange noise that sounded like it was from a video game or something. I began to get dizzy, and for some reason I had a weird, I guess you can call it a vision. I saw a man and a woman. A child walked in the room, and I guess parents looked at him and said, "Monroe, we gotta tell you something," and I woke up. I have no idea what she was going to say, but I think the window had something to say. It read, "For those in sin and scream and yell will burn to the pits of hell." I was so scared, so I ran down my stairs and ran into my mom's room and literally ran through the room. I'm not sure I even touched the handle, just like knocked it down with my head. I was dazed and I stumbled onto my mom's bed and passed out. My mom woke me up asking why I was half sprawled out on her bed with legs dangling over the edge. I told her the story and she had a very weird look on her face. She brought me into the kitchen and sat me down with a cup of coffee for herself and a Coca-Cola for me. She asked if I knew why she got such a beautiful house for such a reasonable price. She said that a child's murder had taken place in my room next to my window by the kid's parents. She gave me the newspaper article that read October 23rd, 2010. It was exactly the same people that were in my dream. This happened when I was 9 years old, but I still remember it as though it happened yesterday. It was in the middle of January, and we were having the worst snowstorm recorded where I lived. Needless to say, all of the schools in the district were closed. Around noon, I went out simultaneously to celebrate the rare snow day and revel in the snow with the kids who lived on the block. We all tracked down to the nearby playground. I suppose it was because there was more clean snow there, and at one point the group decided to try to build an igloo, but I quickly lost interest as it was not holding together and I was tired of being bossed around, so I separated from the group to a fresh patch of snow several yards away. I was going to make a snowman. I had just finished the first ball and I was already bored and thinking about rejoining the group when I looked at my snowman again and I saw that there was an older boy standing near it with a grin on his face. I noticed that there was something a little strange about him. His clothing seemed old-fashioned and somewhat ragged, but I didn't mention anything of it. In fact, we never really said a word to each other, but by the end of the afternoon we had finished our snowman. I took off my hat and put it on the snowman's head, and the boy took off his scarf and put it around the snowman's neck. When he finished, he smiled at me, bent to kiss my cheek, and I remembered that his lips were cold, but that didn't seem to weird me out at first. After all, we had just spent all afternoon playing in the snow. He gave a little wave and turned around to walk away. One of my friends called my name, and I turned to look that they had all given up on making their igloo and were heading back home. I followed, and I didn't give another thought to that strange boy until later. One of my friends commented on how quickly I had managed to build the snowman. I laughed and told her that it wasn't hard. I had help. A strange and uncomfortable silence fell over the group, and one of the other girls said that they hadn't seen me with anyone. I rolled my eyes, figuring they formed some sort of collective pact to freak me out or something, as a way to get back at me, and I just let it drop. The next day I went back to the park where we'd been playing. Most of the area was covered in footprints and evidence of my friends attempting to make an igloo, but as I approached my snowman, the footprints thinned out. I couldn't believe my eyes. There were no footprints whatsoever. Not mine, not the boys. The snowman stood alone, surrounded by white snow, untouched except for the tracks where we'd been building the snowball's base. I stood there for a moment looking around in case the boy was standing nearby. No one was around. The snowman still wore my hat. I went over and retrieved it. After a moment's thought, I went back and unwrapped the scarf from around the snowman's neck to place it around my own. I still have that scarf, and to this day I wear it during the winter or whenever I'm feeling lonely. To this day I quake in fear, thinking that talking about him or remembering him will make him return. Maybe it's because I'm up early for a change, but I decided to share my short story of an encounter years ago. When I was a teenager, I was super passionate about paintball, playing every weekend at a local field that led me to my first job as a referee there. Oftentimes after playing hard, my legs would cramp up pretty bad at night, so I would sleep on the couch for a quick dismount if a leg cramp should wake me up, but one particular night in the middle of July, I believe, would haunt me forever. I was falling in and out of sleep, channel surfing on the couch late that Saturday night. I awoke to see a shadow figure standing right there in the kitchen doorway to the left of the TV. The figure immediately caught my attention because it had illuminating bright green eyes. The figure was about 6 foot tall, solid black, but strange. The only way I could explain how his body looked is by looking at a picture of the Milky Way. It was literally like stars in a galaxy, but no beautiful colors. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but my body reacted right off the bat. All sound stopped. My lungs felt like it made a fist. I tried screaming, and the only thing that happened was my throat closed and no noise came out of it. Teenager me decided that the only logical thing to do is run to my mom. My parents' bedroom was just to the left of this figure, so I had to bolt past it, and I did without hesitation. As I ran by, I looked to make sure it wasn't reaching out for me. It just stood there and watched me, like it was enjoying the moment, soaking in all the fear. Like a gazelle, I swiftly bolted by in the most fluid motion you could imagine, opened their bedroom door, closed it, and locked it. I leaped from the door over my mom sleeping into the open slot of her bed. She woke up violently, thinking it was a home invasion. I still couldn't muster the words out of my mouth, so I frantically pointed at the door repeatedly. It wasn't until she made the motion to get out of bed to investigate. Then I said, "Don't go out there." Breathing heavily, I explained to her what I saw, and she was semi-skeptical, assuring me I would be fine just sleep in there if I must, but then we both heard it. There was breathing coming from under the door. It almost sounded like a medium-sized dog sniffing a bowl of chow on the other side of the door. I knew she heard it because she stopped talking and looked at the door and back to me with a "Are you messing with me?" look on her face. The breathing was loud and clear. It had both of our attention. It lasted until my mother reached for the phone. Then it stopped. My mother started to dial. Then we saw a shadow pass by the door from under the door slit. My mother called who I thought was the police, but no, she called my father, who was a long-haul truck driver, and who knows where and who knows why. After my dad calmed us down, we both cleared the house with a pair of scissors and a walking cane, as she had a bad back, so those are common around the house. Everything was in order. We were left confused and scared shitless with what we just experienced. The next day I told my sister what happened, and she did some research on it and said that it's some sort of soul collector. I hate looking into it because ignorance is bliss. I often tell myself that what I saw was a dream and what we heard was the TV, but I assure you it was not. If you are out there, green-eyed jerk, don't take my soul until Half-Life 3 comes out. That should assure me a nice long life. I have to edit this detail in that my sister reminded me of when she read this. She also lived with us at the time, and her room was on the other side of the wall from the couch I was sleeping on. She heard nothing. In fact, she slept like a baby. And my mother and I did check up on her, but she was totally fine. Amazing she didn't get disturbed by my frantic dash and the tactical clearing of the house thereafter. When I told my sister about the event, I did a poor quality sketch, and I showed her. She was super talented and whipped out a better sketch in a split second compared to how long it took me. This is what she drew then. Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you all for watching, and well, as far as all these scary story goes and all these ghost stories, it makes me very weary to go into any old houses. But like always guys, thank you all for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Join the nightmares and have as much fun as I'm having right now. As always guys, thank you all for watching, and remember, the best ideas always come out of nightmares.